Hey, yeah, happy. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us for the Licensing and Gambling Acts Casework Subcommittee for the application for a new premise licence for Pihu Enterprises at 67 Botley Road, Oxford. My name's Councillor Catherine Miles and I'm the chair for the subcommittee this evening. I'm just going to ask everyone to briefly introduce themselves before we go through the procedure. And so I will ask the fellow panellists here to introduce themselves and then we'll go round. So please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Councillor Ajaz Raymond. I'm part of the committee today.
Thank you. And we'll come around this way and work way around.
I'm Alison Daly. I'm solicitor at the council and I advise the subcommittee this evening.
I'm Hannah Comedy-Brown. I'm the clerk for this meeting.
Sorry, it's really hard to hear what you're saying.
It's okay.
Welcome to. Yeah, just feel free, take a seat anywhere. Hopefully the sound sounds like it's improved anyway now. So, but it's still nicer just to have you around the table. So please feel comfortable to join us. In fact, in many of these meetings, we do have people sitting around here, so it's absolutely fine. Yeah, we'll just repeat our introduction. So I'm Councillor Catherine Miles. I'm the chair of the subcommittee today, where we're hearing the application for a new premise licence for Pihu Enterprises at 67 Botley Road. And I am going to ask us all to go round and introduce ourselves in a second. And we'll start with the panel and then we'll go round the room in this direction. So yeah, go ahead.
So I'm Councillor Simon Nutty. I'm on the committee tonight.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I'm Ajaz Raymond and I'm part of the committee tonight.
And I'm Alison Daly. I'm solicitor and I advise the subcommittee this evening.
I'm Hannah Comedy-Brown. I'm the clerk for this meeting.
I'm Tapan Chaudhary. I'm the applicant's husband.
Hi, I'm Mansi Chaudhary and I am the applicant of the premises license for Pihu Enterprises, 67 Botley Road.
You're welcome to introduce yourself as well as residents. So carry on.
Lois Muddiman, local councillor in Oseney and St Thomas.
Susanna Pressel, also a local councillor.
I'm John Ali, Licensing Compliance Officer.
And I'm Richard Masters, Senior Licensing Compliance Officer with Oxford City Council General Licensing Team.
Thank you, everybody. So just to explain the process to you all, because some of you may be first time that you're coming to sit through one of these meetings. So as a subcommittee, we'll have read the papers already. So when you do present, we have read this, but you don't have to repeat everything. Just to summarise, the hearing itself takes a form of a discussion. So it will be questions through me as the chair, and each party is going to be asked to make statements in turn. Then we as members of the subcommittee and also from the licensing authority, so that's Richard and John, are able to then ask questions to clarify evidence and any issues, and of course our legal advisor can also clarify points as well. We'll then have an opportunity for everyone to sum up, and then everyone else will leave the room and we will stay here as a panel with our legal advisor and the clerk to make a decision at that point. And just one clarification, I think it's already been mentioned to you already, there is a limited time for the kind of representation to be made, and so objectives and interested parties are taken collectively, but understand that you're going to take approximately 20 minutes anyway, so it should be no problem. Please just be respectful to the other speakers. Yeah, I realise that not everyone has the same view, but just don't interrupt, and please only speak when asked to by the chair. So hopefully that's all clear. And so now I'll ask Richard to present the case for
Chair,
us.
sorry,
Oh,
can
yeah.
you just confirm no declarations of interest?
Oh, yes,
from
thank
anybody
you.
on the panel?
Do we have any declarations of interest, Simon? Just none. No, thank you. That's great. Okay, so yes, over to you, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This licensing subcommittee hearing is convened to determine an application submitted by Pihu Enterprises Limited for a new premises licence in respect of 67 Botley Road, Oxford. The applicant seeks to provide retail sale of alcohol, off sales only, from 0500 hours to 2300 hours daily. A copy of the application and the steps that the applicant intends to take to promote the licence objectives can be found at Appendix 1. During the consultation period, Thames Valley Police liaised with the applicant and agreed on a number of robust conditions to ensure that the licence objectives are upheld. A copy of the correspondence between Thames Valley Police and the applicant, which includes confirmation and agreement of the additional conditions, can be found at Appendix 2. Valid representations have been received from numerous interested parties or other persons. Copies of the representations can be found at Appendix 3. Comments in support of the application have been received from interested parties. Again, copies of the comments can be found at Appendix 4. In response to these representations and to attempt to allay the concerns raised, the applicant has submitted a statement to provide additional information on the type of establishment they intend on operating and to indicate how they will uphold the licence objectives. This statement can be found at Appendix 5. The subcommittee and all other parties at the hearing will note that a map detailing the applicant's premises and the surrounding area is attached to Appendix 6. It must be noted that the only licensable activity sought in this application is the retail sale of alcohol. The subcommittee and all parties of the hearing are advised that the sale of vapes is not a licensable activity and does not require a premises licence. So other relevant considerations, the subcommittee is reminded of its responsibilities under the Crime and Disorder Act and the Human Rights Act when considering the fair balance between the interests of the applicant and the rights of local residents. Any decision taken by the subcommittee must be necessary and proportionate to the objectives being pursued. Members are reminded that whenever they make a decision under Licence Act 2003, they have a duty to act within a view to promoting the licensing objectives. When considering any representations, only those issues relating to the 4 licensing objectives should be considered and appropriate weight given to the importance and relevance of each representation. In making its decision, the subcommittee must also have regard to the Home Office statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act and the Council's own statement of licensing policy. Details of these can be found within the body of the report. The subcommittee must take such of the following steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licence objectives. It can grant the licence in accordance with the application, modify the conditions of the operating schedule by altering or omitting or adding to them, exclude or restrict from the scope of the licence any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, or reject the application. The subcommittee may also grant the licence subject to different conditions for different parts of the premises or different licensable activities. Members should note the applicant or persons making representations have the right to appeal against the decision made by the subcommittee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So I now would like to ask whether the subcommittee have any questions for Richard.
No, I don't.
Do you, HS? Councillor Emma, please.
No, just to clarify, it's just the sale of alcohol that we're talking about today.
That's correct, yes.
That's the only one.
So thank you, because I recognise that we had quite a lot of complaints that had come in, and just to clarify from yourself, I know you mentioned around vapes, and you just clarified to Councillor Roman it's just around the alcohol aspect, but I know some of the concerns have been around advertising of vapes, and I just want to just check what kind of regulations govern that, and if there's anything to do with the protection related to the promotion of the licensing objectives that link to the advertising of vapes. The other couple of points as well that came up in some of the concerns raised, one is the proximity to schools, and I know in some of the other types of licensing that we look at that sometimes proximity to schools does take some weight, but just wanting to understand what level of weight we are required to give to that. And then around parking concerns, I know that they've been raised, but I'm as far as I understand that that's out of scope of our activity. But yeah, I just wanted to check with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so parking won't fall under the licence objectives, because the licence objectives are prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, public safety and protection of children from harm, but it relates to the licensable activities applied for, so the sale of alcohol. So in regards to the vapes, no premises licence is required, so they can open a vape shop and sell vapes without the requirement a licence, it's not a licensable activity. I did have some information from Trading Standards, who are the responsible authority for enforcement when it comes to vapes and smoking cigarettes. It says there are currently no restrictions on who can sell vapes or how they are displayed. The Tobacco and Vapes Bill is moving its way through Parliament and should progress to committee stage at the end of October. The bill contains provisions which would prohibit vapes and nicotine products from being deliberately branded, promoted and advertised to children to stop the next generation from becoming hooked on nicotine. It also provides powers to introduce a licensing scheme for the retail sale of tobacco, vapes and nicotine products in England. But again, as with all legislation, potentially those restrictions may get watered down or removed altogether, depending on how it goes through. Again, that's still going through Parliament at the minute, but there's no licence required currently for vapes. When it comes to schools and things, obviously you've got the protection of children from harm. It's one of the licence objectives, but again, it should relate to the licensed activity that's been applied for, which is the sale of alcohol. So anything in relation to minors trying to get alcohol sold to them or things like that, or upholding the licence objectives, that will be relevant to this application. Proximity to schools, again, that does fall under the Miscellaneous Provisions Act when it comes to sex establishments. That's one of the requirements in regards to locality, but it's not so, under the Licensing Act, it's not as relevant, although, like I said, with regards to school children, being proximity of the premises, you ensure that the licence holders are asking for ID and making sure that any alcohol is sold responsibly.
Thank you. No, that's helpful. There was one other point around sort of general antisocial behaviour and congregation of people. To what extent do we place weight on that if it's not in the actual premise or directly outside the premise itself? Thank you.
That's obviously the licence holder, potential licence holder, would have responsibility within the vicinity of the premises. But once they've left the vicinity, it's difficult for them to ensure that antisocial behaviour isn't happening. But they can put out signage or remind customers to leave quietly, things like that. But they're only responsible within the vicinity of the business.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. So then, I think, do we have any questions from Ali, from your side, from legal? No, thank you. And from the applicant, Mrs. Chowdhury? Yeah.
No, I don't have any questions. And all I want to say is that I'm not here to defend or force ourselves to the society or to the community, basically. We are here to explain ourselves a bit more because the application is designed in such a way that we only have to, just say that we are applying for a premises license for alcohol.
Well, so
and the hours are.
Can I just pause you there? Because actually, I think given that you've not got any other questions.
Okay, no, I don't have any
to
questions.
present your case straight away, if that's
Sure,
okay. Yeah, because
no
that's the next thing anyway. So maybe if I formally hand over to you to present your case and then you can, start with your explanation, that would be wonderful. So yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. As I said, I'm Mansi Chaudhary and I'm the applicant of premises license for Pihu Enterprises, 67 Botley Road. And I'm here today not to defend or force myself to the community, our store, but I'm over here to explain ourselves a bit more, that what our vision, what our objective, how we see the business to be like. I understand that it can look very, uninviting, or let's say very risky when you look at the, blue paper outside the shop, which says that somebody's applying for an alcohol license starting from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. But actually it is not completely the case. What we are planning to bring to that store is a NISA local. When we filled in the statement earlier, we were in the process of speaking with Cooperative Store to have their franchisee, and now we have their franchisee in place. And this conversation has been going on for months. They looked at the demographics of the street, they looked at the demographics of the area, and they find that it is a perfect fit. That's because the street has been affected because of the road closures. There aren't any other retail stores other than Waitrose. So it would be good small retailers, convenience stores, other than, the big Waitrose, a national multinational company. So I think it is for the community and it is for the convenience of the people that I think that a store like this will be a perfect fit. And 80% of our items and our sales will be groceries. It will be fresh coffee, bakery items, sandwiches, dairy, ready-to-eat meals, soft drinks, and day-to-day essentials. It is only 20 or maybe less than that we are talking about alcohol, tobacco, and cigarettes. And that too largely because they are high-value items. But in terms of the numbers, they will have a very small percentage in terms of sales. There is another point that has been discussed or mentioned quite a lot in the objections is 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. I would like to say that again, doing a lot of research about the street and the demographics, the side roads, and not only by us, but also by NISA Cooperative. And we also have secured a franchisee of Cook Frozen Food. It is a very, very exclusive, very healthy frozen food company. And we have luckily secured a franchisee with them. So based on their research and our research together, we understood that the people who are living on, Botley Road and the side streets, they are professionals. And that population will increase even more with the further development by University of Oxford. There are science park, there's science park coming, there are more labs coming. So a lot of people live on that street and they use the train station to go to London or probably other parts of England for their meetings, and they leave early in the morning. In the morning, they want tea, coffee, they want sandwiches, food to go. And when they come back in the evening, they're tired and they want some easy meals. So, which is why we are planning to open early in the morning, and Cooperative Store is completely agreeing with that. They see it as an opportunity, not only for the business, but also to serve the community. And to provide them, we will be we will have fresh bakery, we'll have sandwiches, we'll have fruits, coffee, and in the evening, they can pick for themselves frozen foods, ready-to-eat meals, and those things. So that is my explanation to the hours that we have proposed. And also on that street, particularly after, more after the road opens, that there are a lot of trade shops on Botley Road. We have got Wix, we have got Screwfix, we have got a few. And there will be a lot
Industrial area as well.
Industrial area. So there will be a lot of tradespeople who will be using that road. And they start early, they finish late, and they want coffee, they want hot coffee, they want food to go. So that's my justification for the hours that we have proposed for this store.
Thank you very much. And so what happens now is that we can take questions from the subcommittee. So have we got any questions to Nancy? Please.
So the conditions that the police have proposed, all 22 of them, just confirm that you have read them and you do accept them all fully.
Yes, absolutely. I've read
We
them,
went back
yes,
and
yeah.
forth with the police. So
Yeah.
it was a dialogue, not just imposition.
Mhm.
And we agreed with, we've known Alex from the other shop as well, the officer. So we agreed those conditions readily.
Mhm. And also, all those discussions and things that the Thames Valley Police has agreed with, it is also based on our relationship and how they have seen us operating our other shop in Oxford. So we have not even a single instance where we have sold to underage or sold to a person who is already in influence, or anybody has consumed the alcohol in the premises. So we have not even a single instance. They have seen our registers, they have checked our staff and us, that how trained we are, whether how we log our complaints or the instances, the requirements. So, and actually, we have been very helpful to the police that if there is any, stolen card used or any case that police is looking for, we have provided them CCTV images and multiple times and in a very timely order. So.
One more then. So you've given a good explanation why you want to open at 5 o'clock, and I understand that. Perhaps the objectors might be wondering why you want to have a license to sell alcohol from 5 o'clock, and whether there was any willingness to shift that, if you'd thought about shifting that, given that there's so many objectors.
Sorry, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the premises license or an alcohol license is black and white, in the sense that it can't be for certain hours,
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see a differentiation between the two. It's not that we applied for the license saying that, oh yeah, let's start selling alcohol.
yes, yeah.
Booze at 5 a.m. That was not the intention. The intention, we looked at the hours of operation,
Yeah.
what the community needs, what we think that road needs, Botley Road especially. So it's not that we had alcohol in mind when we put those hours in. So, you know, are we likely to sell alcohol at 5 a.m.? Probably very, very low. You know, I don't think there'll be people lining up to buy spirits at 5 a.m. I don't think
No.
that's the case.
Even
I think
in-
it's
Mhm.
probably blown out of proportion. But having said that, does it bother me if we don't sell alcohol for a couple of hours and we don't sell one bottle of, I don't know, a 20 cl bottle? No, not really. So that's not the intention of the store, really. So I think it's been misconstrued. The poster has been misconstrued because it's a one-liner that says off license 5 a.m. That's not the
Yeah,
intention. by any
that's
means.
not really the intention.
Yeah,
I
so
know the
if-
demographics are very, very different in different parts of
Yeah.
Oxford, but even in other shops that we have in different, you know, with completely different
Yeah.
demographics, we hardly sell any alcohol until
Later on in the
12
day, it's
or
more
later on
of
the
an
day.
evening
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
that we
it's more
found.
of an evening thing.
Yeah.
And you know, again, based on our discussions and our research about the demographics, it will be more on the wines and things with that too, you know, clubbed together with meals. You know, people when they're going back home,
Yeah.
taking their ready-to-eat meals, they will probably buy a nice wine. But other than that, you know, NISA is not pushing significantly on alcohol, and we are not counting. The things that we are discussing with NISA is how we are going to bake our fresh bread,
yeah.
how we are going to provide, you know, fresh juices and other things. But alcohol is literally,
probably a small portion,
it is
yeah.
only a point of discussion in this meeting. But otherwise, with NISA and other things,
It's
we are
not-
not counting significantly on the sales of alcohol, tobacco, and spirits.
Thank you. Do you have any other follow-up? Yeah, go ahead. Councillor Raymond.
Yeah, Simon's actually asked a couple of questions that I was going to ask. So you said that you've got another shop. How long have you been operating the other shop? So basically, how long is your experience?
We are close to 3
It'll be 3 years
years.
in November.
Yeah, 3 years in November. But at the same time, I have about 15 years of consumer research and marketing research experience background. Yes, yeah.
Sorry.
In your other shop, have you experienced issues with school children or anything like that? And if you have, how have you dealt with them?
Unfortunately, this is a national issue that, you know, kids try their luck, they always come. But we have trained our staff very well. We ourselves are very, very trained. We are not hesitant about asking for IDs. We always ask and check their physical IDs. And we decline very regularly. We make a log of it. And if I be honest, there are cases when kids go outside and ask an adult to buy it for them. But we are very vigilant and we are very aware of that. And to be honest, it comes with a bit of an experience as well. You know, once you have been in the industry for a very long time, I was just telling the councillor that when you're constantly dealing with these cases, it's very easy to tell whether the person is under the influence or this person is coming and buying the alcohol or tobacco for an underage. So we are not hesitant to decline those sales.
It's not worth it for us to sell one vape and, you know, jeopardize our whole operation. It's just
Yes,
not worth
yeah,
it. I mean, and
yeah.
we wouldn't do it. We've got 2 young kids. I've got 2 girls. We've got 2 girls who are, 5 and 9. It's just not the way we operate.
Yeah, financially and ethically both.
Yeah, both. It just
no.
doesn't make sense.
No.
Thank you, no more.
Yeah, just I guess for full transparency, because we're having a discussion here, you talk about the other businesses you run. Do you mind just for again sake of clarity, just naming where? The
business name is World Food and Wine. It's in Temple Square. Councillor Muddyman's already visited because we had a nice conversation before that, and I told you about it. So yeah, it's World Food and Wine. It's in Temple Square, Cowley. It's right next to the Coventry Bank. And it's not only just an off license, again, it's a 2-floor shop. So I think decades ago, it used to be an off license, but we've got a ground floor off license. And if you walk into the store, you go upstairs, that's a World Grocery. It's predominantly Indian and sort of Southeast Asian. But, you know, off license is not the main thing over there either.
Thank you. Any questions further on this side. Yeah, councillor Martino.
So just given you've got two shops, how often will you be at this Botley Road shop to start with and then ongoing?
We are local to Oxford and we are very hands-on. They're almost like, they'll be our two girls. It's very difficult to say that which one we love more or who we give more love to. They will be equally managed. We are two of us and we split it, between us. So we will be giving quite a lot of time. And in fact, our staff, they're almost like our family. We have trained them and, we will come very regularly. We will be there every day. But at the same time, our staff are very well trained and very, very, very good.
Do we have any questions from Ali? No? Richard? No? Thank you. So then the police aren't here to present their case, sorry, excuse me. So we have received the conditions from them, which you've spoken to already and been in touch with them. So we then move on to the next part, which is the interested parties. So have you decided between yourselves who's going to speak first and who would like to make representation? So, okay, please go ahead. Councillor Muddiman, thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, I'm objecting to this application in its current form for the reasons given in my original written statement. And so in addition, I'd like to make the following comments. 67 Botley Road has been a much loved grocery shop for many, many years. The previous owner, Joe Devlin, ran Eggs Etc. and Pickle and Lime as local institutions for 30 years. They were a community anchor through flooding events and the pandemic until sadly, because of the long closure of the Botley Road, that they had to close. So in principle, many of the residents I've spoken to locally about this would very much welcome a new grocery store opening on these premises. The original application raised a lot of concerns as it appeared to be a shop focusing on alcohol, tobacco and vapes, and residents were very concerned that it would be something similar to the shop in Frideswide Square, which councillors will be aware of. At their request, I met with the applicants, Manzi and Tampin Chowdhury, and was somewhat reassured by their professionalism. As they've just said, they have young children themselves and they understand residents' concerns about the risks of sales of alcohol and vapes to anyone underage. I now have fewer concerns about this shop being a similar shop to the one in Frideswide Square. I welcome their aims to provide a local grocery shop, to undercut Waitrose prices, to respond to customer demand in what they stock, and to consider local deliveries to elderly residents. These are things we talked about when we met. I understand that the Chowdhurys have now got an agreement in place with Nisa and will be running it as their store. And they've also got an agreement in place with the frozen ready meal brand Cook to stock their products, as they've just said. Although they won't be present on site, I've just blipped my, all the time. They've assured me that their staff will keep spirits under the counter and that all tobacco products will be kept under the counter out of sight. I also welcome the strong conditions from TVP and thank them for their input, particularly the requirements for staff training, the recording of incidents, using only registered suppliers, having working CCTV at all times, the records of sales to anyone looking under 30, keeping all spirits under the counter, prominent signage about noise and age limits, and the various conditions for off sales. However, all that said, I still think the long licensing hours are inappropriate for this residential area. The applicants have said that they want to attract business from commuters and workers on nearby Oseney Mead Industrial Estate. And while I understand the convenience for local commuters of being able to pick up a pint of milk or a sandwich on the way to and from the station, I don't think these customers will want to purchase alcohol at 5 a.m. in the morning. But I am concerned about who might want to purchase alcohol at 5 in the morning. The availability of alcohol so early in the morning, I think, would be very detrimental to our area. In particular, one of the properties directly opposite the site on Botley Road provides temporary accommodation for vulnerable women as part of O'Hanlon House's Women's Project. This includes recovering addicts. I'm also aware of some residents who are suffering from alcohol addiction who live close to this shop. With their safety and well-being in mind, I ask that the committee reconsiders a reduction in the licensing hours. That doesn't stop the shop being open at different times, but I would like the licensing hours to be reduced. And I would suggest that the licensing hours be changed from 8 AM to 10:30 might be appropriate in this area. Finally, as our excellent licensing officers mentioned earlier, I draw the applicant's attention to the Tobacco and Vapes Bill 2024, which is about to enter the committee stage in Parliament, and if passed is likely to become law in January 27. It will prevent the sale of tobacco to anyone born after the 1st of January 2009. It may also make the sale of tobacco and vapes a licensable activity. I hope it will also mean that vapes cannot be displayed on countertops next to confectionery. And although I know this is something that the licensing authority cannot insist upon at this time, it would make good economic sense for the applicant to design their counter area with this in mind. And any voluntary commitment from the applicant to keep vapes behind the counter would be very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others on the represented parties that would like to speak? Because we've still got a little bit of time left for you if you wanted to make some representation. Please go ahead.
Just very briefly. Apologies. Thank you for the further information you provided. That's really helpful. And I agree that the terms in which an application is made perhaps don't portray the full proposal. And there's much that's encouraging in what you are looking to do. I think for the benefit of the subcommittee, what I'd like to just do is present a brief portrait of the neighbourhood. It is a quiet residential area. Beyond what we've all heard about Botley Road, the closure and so on, it is a very nice, close-knit community, small, quiet streets, a school, a very thriving community centre, a couple of churches, 2 parks, and a very small parade of shops that has, as Councillor Muddiman said, suffered in recent years, in particular because of the closure of the road. It isn't an area that, from conversation with quite a wide range of neighbours, both on my street and adjacent streets, has felt particularly a need for a convenience store, but perhaps there is, certainly not for an off licence. And I think the point I really want to pick up on is the excessive hours, the 5 till 11, particularly actually at the later point in the day for the sale of alcohol. I think it's fair to say that at 5 in the morning, early hours, very few people probably would be buying. But actually what we do have, despite the pleasant nature of the neighbourhood, is a problem in the park, in Oatlands Recreation Ground, of the consumption of alcohol, of known drug dealing, and certainly several nights in the summer where there were very loud disturbances that made their way up the street I live on. I did not feel particularly safe. If I were an elderly resident, if I were a child, I think I would have found that very disturbing. One of my children was awoken by it. And so there is a pre-existing problem, which by no means would, it would not be I think we know that there's a pre-existing problem, but putting an off licence in the midst of that would seem to only fuel that. So actually, I would argue that the hours 5 to 11 are excessive, but that later part of the day should particularly be looked at. There is crime, there is disorder associated with it. I also wonder about the secondary sale of alcohol. It might not happen immediately outside the shop, but there are certainly things going on at Oatlands Recreation Ground. I think it will put an increased demand on police resources, and I think it will lend a further sense of public nuisance and indeed questions about public safety. So the long hours, the sale of alcohol later in the evening, and the very good intentions, but making sure that feeds through into staff training and really understanding the nature of this quiet residential area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just for the record, could you just remind us of your name again?
Sorry, yes, Charlotte Smith, Hillview
Thank
Road.
you, Charlotte. Thank you. Thank you. I think any of the other residents want to speak before Councillor Pressel. Would you like to say anything?
Do you go ahead?
No, you go first. I will bring up the rear if there's still
Okay.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor
Thank
Pressel.
you. Yes. Thank you, panel. I also am very reassured by what I've heard from the applicants and what I read in their statement. They seem really respectable and competent, so I think they'll do a good job, and this might be an asset to the community. And I like the conditions put on by the police as well. And I think they'll be a big help. I'm also pleased that the applicants have promised not to display vapes so that they're attractive to children. I think that's very important. I just wish they could be kept completely out of sight, but you say there wouldn't be room to do that, which is a pity. Because at the uni stores in Frights Square, which has been prosecuted a couple of times at least, young people often use somebody else's ID, or they ask an adult to go in and buy something for them. But you say you're very aware of that and you would try to combat that. So I was glad to hear that, but still not totally reassured because I know what youngsters can be like. It's very good as well to keep spirits inaccessible behind the counter. But you seem to think that the demographics of this area are much more middle class than in Cowley, and I don't think that's completely true. I know that's not completely true because, as Councillor Muddiman mentioned, she mentioned one hostel, sort of temporary accommodation for homeless people, often recovering alcoholics, but I know of several, in fact, in Bockley Road itself. So there are quite a lot of people who would like to buy alcohol at 5 a.m, whereas the commuters that you are aiming at for the early hours, I don't think they would want to buy alcohol at 5 a.m. So I agree with other people who've said, I hope the panel might decide to restrict the hours of selling alcohol, which you certainly can do, though you can't do much about all the other aspects. So I would like to suggest 12 noon to 11 p.m. or 12 noon to 9 p.m. or something similar, perhaps, which I think would reassure all those many local residents who are very concerned. And they're also concerned, I know, about noise and rowdy behaviour. That little parade of shops all have flats above them, or almost all do. So there are people living right sort of overlooking the forecourt at the front of this shop, and people living in homes immediately opposite as well. So, so I think any kind of rowdiness would be a great pity, and I think the sale of alcohol does sometimes seem to encourage rowdiness. And I was very pleased, finally, I'm very pleased to hear that you train your staff so well, but I can't believe that you have already trained all the staff for this new premises when you haven't even opened it yet, I believe. So I wonder if the applicants are allowed to comment, I wonder if they could reassure us about that. Thank you.
We can come to that in a moment, maybe, and I think we've got another representation that wants to be made on this side, so we'll take that first. Thank you.
Angela Unsworth, I live on Oaklands Road. Thank you for your further reassurances. However, we do observe the harm that alcohol sales have from small shops such as this all across the city. I think that the hours are far too long. I would like to support Susanna in her representation for the hours to become more like 12 till 9. I think that is much more appropriate. I have concerns about the owners not being resident, regardless of the fact that they do have children. They are not going to be there. I'm unconvinced about staff following the express orders of the owners. They're not proposing to run the facility themselves, so I don't think that they will be as omnipresent as perhaps we might like them to be. I don't think that residents need this extra facility. I think Waitrose, albeit expensive, is open for a very long time. Aldi is not far away, Sainsbury's is not far away, and there are other more local shops as well in the vicinity that provide the same sort of function. And we are in a very tight-knit residential area, which, may I say, your other shop is clearly not. And you made a point about the application looking uninviting. I think it looks uninviting because it is uninviting. Your intent may be that people do not buy alcohol from 5 to 11 at night. However, a license for that period does allow you to trade alcohol between those times. I think that is our biggest objection to the shop. A small convenience store would be welcome. I am unconvinced of the nicer argument, but we remain to be seen on that. But opening and licensing are not the same thing. I would urge the council to restrict the opening hours to something more like between 12 and 9. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I know we've got someone else here. No, okay. That's great. So we've taken then all of the objectives accounts, and so we now, just in terms of process, can have questions from licensing officers to yourselves. And Richard, is there anything from your side that you'd like to ask? Thank you.
I just wondered if the applicant wanted to address some of the concerns raised by the objectors and tell them how they're going to uphold the licensing objectives.
Absolutely. And so then, thank you, Richard. Manzi, would you, Ms. Chowdhury, would you like to? Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll address the point of where we are going to place the alcohol, tobacco, and the vapes. So the tobacco and cigarettes will be in a locked drawer under the counter. So it will not be visible to any of, the grown-ups, the adults, stall people, or students, because it will be locked. They will, our staff or us, we will open the drawer based on what the order is, and then we will lock the drawer. And there won't be any advertising, any promotion done in the store to promote the sale of tobacco or cigarettes. If they know what they want and they're very, very clear, they'll come to the counter and they'll say, this is what they want. And the counter will be opened and given, obviously, if they are of the right age. In terms of spirit and alcohol, that will again be behind the counter. It will be visible, but it will be behind the counter and the counter will be closed.
There's a physical door.
There will be a physical door, so it will not be accessible to the people, the spirits. In terms of vapes, again, nobody will have direct access to, they can't touch it. So it will be behind the counter and very lower down.
Next to the spirits.
Next to the spirits, but it will be much lower. So basically it will not be visible to kids because they are, assuming they are short. And yeah, and that is the plan that has been provided, or that is used nationally by all the retailers. I've seen the same setup in Waitrose. That is the same setup done by all cooperative stores and NISA stores across the nation. Okay, and I'll let Tapan explain the other points.
Sorry, Richard, did you have a point there?
Yeah, I was just going to quote from our statement of licence policy in regards to off sales. I think maybe it may help the committee. So policy LH8, hours of off sales of alcohol. The authority will normally approve an application for licensing hours for retail premises that permit the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises at any time that the retail premises are open for shopping. Where there are good reasons for restricting those hours, the authority will specify the particular hours during which the sale of alcohol for consumption of the premises is permitted. In such cases, the authority will not specify those hours in general terms, such as at any time the premises are open for shopping. If a representation or relevant representation is made to the authority concerning premises intended for the sale of alcohol for consumption of the premises, that those premises are likely to become the focus for disturbance or public nuisance, the authority reserves the right to restrict trading hours as one mechanism of combating such problems. So licensing hours can differ to trading hours in some circumstances.
Mr. Chowdhury.
Thank you. Yes, I was just going to touch on the couple of points made about staff training and us not being present. As you can probably tell, we're both from professional backgrounds. I'm an engineer, I was working project management, she's an economist. We got into retail 3 years ago with that was our first shop. So we spent many months being at the shop physically, juggling between childcare and one of us being there. So we know how it works from the ground up. So we've seen it, we've trained our staff accordingly. To your point about staff not being trained, we've actually started training one extra staff for the past 3 to 4 weeks, gearing up for this, because we can't just open the store and all of a sudden staff will be trained. So we have been gearing up for that in advance. Having said that, as with our first store, we'll be spending considerable amount of time here, as we have been in the past week. We've started the basic shop fitting and so on, as you may have heard. But we intend to be here, day in and day out, especially in the beginning. to see how the operation works out, because even NISA is new to us as well. You know, we have our way of doing things, but NISA are very strict about how things work, about the ordering and display and all that. So they dictate a lot of how the shop is presented and run. So we'll be spending a lot of time in the shop. So it's not that we're just gonna hand over the keys to the staff and disappear. Two of the staff have been with us for over 2 years. We have a license as a sponsor. So two of the staff are actually sponsored on our license. So they are tied to us, so they are loyal to us as well for the time being, for as long as their license is, at least. So it's not that we're gonna just put new staff there. The intention was for the new staff that we've been training for the past 3 weeks in the other shop to take over the current shop for the time being, and the existing staff, which is well trained, to come here. But it'll be a rotational basis. It's not that, you know, one staff comes in. And so at the moment, the staff is, you know, we have capacity, is what I want to say, in terms of current staff and also with the new staff. So we are gearing up for this. And no, we trust our staff. They're loyal. They follow our instructions. They have no incentive not to.
Yeah.
Rather, it's a disincentive for them if they break the rules or don't follow the, you know, so.
And also, if they joined us 2 years ago, it's not that they did the training then and that's it. They keep revising and reviewing the training, and we get their signatures. I mean, I literally read it to them.
Yeah, we're there we're in the shop every day. Her, myself, we do stop by the shop. We're constantly, so obviously we do things the slightly different way. We are not physically there, you know, 12 hours a day, but we are monitoring it on CCTV all the time. So we have a pulse of what's happening in the shop at any given time. Even the sales as well, I'm just going to add. So tobacco, vapes, and alcohol, spirits. Every single item in the shop is tracked on our phones because we use a Square point of sale. So we know the inventory of what's happening in the shop at any given time. If we sell a bottle of alcohol, we know what we sold, when we sold. We link it up with the CCTV, which is how we've helped the police a number of times. We said, you know, this was the amount of sale. Can you look it up? We can actually link it to the CCTV and tell you exactly what happened, who bought it, what did they buy. So we have a pulse on the shop at all times. Thank you.
Thank you. Panel, have you got any questions?
Just maybe,
Yeah.
Richard. So you just clarify, the limiting of the hours has to be related to the licensing objectives.
Yeah, and obviously, because we've received marry up with the opening hours, but they can look to limit it. In regards to hours, I have got a list of other premises nearby. Each case is done on its own individual merits, each application. But we do have a list of other premises in the OX2 region, and I can give some of their hours if you wanted. For example, so Grog Shop is 8 to 11. Oldie Botley Road is 8 to 11. Waitrose is actually licensable from 7 to 11. Sainsbury's Walton Street, 7 to 11. Best Food on Woodstock Road is 7 to 9. Sainsbury's Park End Street is 7 to 11. And Park End Street, I think the premises we mentioned previously, that's 8 to 2300 hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, Councillor?
Just is 3 hours that you've just quoted, are they the opening hours of those shops as well, as far as you know?
They're the hours for licensable activity.
Yeah, but do they correspond with the hours that the shop's open, or do you not know?
Without the in front of me, I won't be able to confirm, but normally, the norm is that they would marry up.
I have just a question. Yeah, we can call you. Yeah, please. Councillor Muddiman, sorry.
Thank you, if it's allowed. Just to say, I'm pretty sure that Waitrose doesn't open at 7. I think Waitrose opens at 9, 8, 9. So that if they're licensed at 7, they're not open at 7.
Yeah, they're permitted to sell alcohol from 7, but then again, their open hours may not necessarily reflect the hours for licensable activity.
To the Chowdhuries, I'd like to just ask whether, given the concerns that have been raised by interested parties and just the clarification that officers have given around the fact that your opening hours and your licence hours don't need to be exactly the same, would you be considering, I want to give you the opportunity to put forward if you have any flexibility around the hours that you've put forward to sell alcohol before we get to the summing up stage. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think we hear the concerns, and like I said earlier, our business model is not to make a ton of money in the morning selling alcohol. So I think 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. would be reasonable, which is in line with a lot of the other shops in the area. One point I forgot to make earlier is there have been off license or premises licenses on this street previously. Obviously, Eggs, etc., which was in the very same spot we are, in the same premises, had a license until 2016, I believe. And prior to that, I think on the corner of Alexandra Road, I think there was a off license there, as in the Westgate Hotel as well. So, but now there's none, apart from Waitrose, I believe, and further down. So I was just going to make that point. But yes, we're happy to restrict the hours to 7 to 11, and I'm confident our staff will uphold that.
Thank you very much for that. I think if we don't have any further questions from the panel, any final questions from anyone else before we sum up? No? Okay, so what we do now is just to reiterate just very briefly your key points. We'll come to you first from the applicant's perspective, to Mansi, I think as the applicant, it's you, and then we'll go round to the responsible authorities, they're not here, interested parties, and then the licensing officer as a brief sum up. And then what will happen after that, we'll ask you to leave the room and then we'll make our decision. So if I can ask you to sum up, please, very briefly.
No, I think this was a good, healthy discussion. I'm glad we got a chance to speak to the community. We've been quite forthcoming from day one. We reached out to you, Councillor Muddiman, to meet and discuss the concerns, because obviously we saw the comments, and I would say 99% of them were copy paste of your original comment. So which tells us the community is very well interlinked and connected, which is a good thing. I mean, we can look at it in a negative way, or we can look at it in a positive way, that in fact, if we do things right and we win over the local community, then that's our business, that's our customer base as well, which is what we want to do. I think we're not there to go against the wishes of the community. So yeah, with that being said, I think it was a healthy discussion, and we're happy to proceed as we've said earlier. So thank you.
From the interested parties, from yourselves, Councillor Muddiman, would you like to sum up from
Yes, thank you. Thank you to officers and also to the applicants. I do think it has been a useful discussion. I would just to keep it brief, I would just reiterate my request for the hours would be from 8 to 10:30.
Yeah.
Yes, I was also going to say thank you to the applicants for agreeing to restrict their hours just a tiny bit, but I hope the panel will say that the hours should be much less than that, perhaps noon till 9 p.m. or noon till 11 p.m. I think that would probably be more appropriate and would be very well regarded by local people. Thank you.
Charlotte, thank you.
Thank you. I would just second what Councillor Pressel has said, restricting the hours. Actually, I think 12 till 9. I think I would really strongly encourage the subcommittee to take into account that there were 108 objections, 5 people in support. I think the community will be rather left wondering why 5 till 11 or even a 7 till 11 will have been allowed, notwithstanding the merits of other elements of the proposal.
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you. Firstly, I think we'd like to say thank you for your thoughts on being flexible, and we look forward to welcoming you to our community. But I would, of course, go back to the opening hours and would like to second or third what Councillor Pressel has suggested, and that we look for a much more restrictive opening hours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So then now we come to Richard for summing up from your side. Thank you.
Nothing really to add, Chair, to be honest with you. It's just in regards to that section in the Stamina Licence Policy 5.5, the hours for sales of alcohol, and each application is done on its own merits.
Very much. So what we're going to do now is going to ask you all to leave the room. We will deliberate, and you will be invited back in shortly. Welcome, come back in, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your patience today. Just want to clarify the decision that we've resolved. So we have, as a committee, resolved to grant that restrict off sales, the timing of the off sales, which is the supply of alcohol, so that it is from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. for the licensed activities applied for. We just want to acknowledge, though, that there was a large number of objections that were put forward for this, some of which were outside of the remit of the committee. And so we do want to just acknowledge that. And I think that that was acknowledged by everyone around the table. So some of it's outside the decision-making power of this committee. But we're really grateful to the applicant for their offer to restrict the off sales. So it's now the 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. out of goodwill and in response to the very specific concerns that were raised by residents. The proposed new off-sale times for supply of alcohol that we've agreed to align to the nearby store that as licensed hours. So we understand that the big commercial operator, which is locally available in the proximity, has the same timings. And then we do recognise that although these concerns were raised around the different licence objectives, we're really confident in the professionalism and experience of the applicant and that the conditions that are going to be transposed into the operating schedule. We're also confident in the responses that you provided to us, that you will be promoting the licensing objectives. And so, yeah, we just thank you for your time and thank you very much for being here today. Okay, thank you. Oh, and I should say, yeah, there is a right to appeal, but you don't need that. But I think I have to say that anyway. Thank you. Goodbye.